Good morning, Electric Culture of Safety line team. Welcome aboard. It's August 2026. We got some clouds, we got a little breeze, and it feels pretty good here in South Carolina for an August, that's for sure. Little update on Electric Culture of Safety. Go to electriccultureofsafety.com, click on resources, and download all the Linemen Safety National Webinars, download all the live wire stories, and share with your organization, share with your line team back home. No cost. Bierer Meters, we pay for this to host it, to do these things, and then we have folks coming in, like today, Mr. Lito Wilkins, he actually is paying for this out of his own pocket through his company, Leading Safe Lineworkers. And man, support folks like Mr. Lito. Support them, use his resources, use their talents, their passion to help build up your safety culture at your line team's place. So real quick, right here, we got One Source Restoration. They just hopped on board, becoming a partner with Electric Culture of Safety. We just picked up their logo and they added it, just making a formal announcement. If you go to Electric Culture of Safety on LinkedIn and Facebook, I just made that announcement this morning. You can check it out, get a hold of Miss Tammy Kent and their company and all what they do for you. And then Osmos, they also added their logo to the partnership banner, and I'm gonna make that announcement probably tomorrow or next week, official. So just go to LinkedIn, go to Facebook, Electric Culture of Safety, check it out. So anyways, Mr. Lito, I've been friends with him. He's my brother. I've been friends with him since, gosh, like 2021, formally face-to-face. And I met Lito, and he was one of the very first folks that ever has spoken for Electric Culture of Safety, and I highly recommend that you snag all his Linemen Safety National Webinars. 003, My Shocking Awakening. Got to have that one. And then I also want you guys to download right here, 057, The Assumption Trap. Watch that, share that with your crews. 058, Reframing Risk. Check these out, man. He has a great perspective. He had a serious injury. He had a CIF years ago, and we'll talk maybe a little bit about that. And then today he wanted to do number 100 episode, and he's here today. He's been wanting to do this for I think we talked about it a couple of years ago, and he says, Brent, I want to be there for the 100. So he's here today, and he's going to be talking about the standard you walk past is the standard you set. So hang on, climb aboard, and let's meet up with Lito. All right? Thank you all for being here today. Lito.
Brent.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Good
you
to
doing
see
good?
You. Yeah.
Yeah,
great.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. No, appreciate what you bring to our industry. You've been doing line work since you got into industry
2003?
2003?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you heard about it, you found out about it, and it piqued your interest. How did that happen, man?
So yeah, I joined military right out of high school. Did 7 years there, aviation ordnance, working on loading bombs and guns on aircraft. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, I really couldn't find a place that actually did that kind of work, in the civilian world, other than a terrorist group or something like that. And I wasn't going to go down that route. So, I went to my uncles, two Journeyman Lineman uncles for Pacific Gas and Electric there, and they hooked me up. With an into the company, got my feet wet. Did some years in the trenches for a little bit until I got my apprenticeship, and then did my apprenticeship there. 16 years at the utility there, and then made my way on the outside.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So My Shocking Awakening. That right there. That was what grabbed my heart and brought me to you in the first place, and your passion with that presentation, sharing your real life story. So that day on that crew, there was a lot of dynamics that were happening that day. Go through a couple of those dynamics with us.
Okay. Well, seasoned crew. We had been working together for 4 years, doing the same thing almost daily. Bare hand work procedures on 500,000 volts energized, and the dynamic of our crew, right? You said that word, dynamic. We were apprentices together, right? So we came up together, apprentices. We knew each other's families. We knew each other.
You're friends.
Right?
You're
We're
watching
friends,
out.
and now we've worked together for 4 years on our crew, right? So there's a bond between us, right?
That's right.
And we took pride in the fact that we really didn't have to talk to each other while we were working because we knew that the next step.
Yeah.
We knew that other person was going to be there. Not knowing that is not a good thing to have on a crew, right?
Yeah.
Even though you're jiving as a team and you're together and you're connected, you need to be able to stop and communicate throughout the process. It doesn't matter how long you've been together. It doesn't matter if it's your first day, if it's been 40 years. I've seen guys with 40 years under the belt make a mistake in communicating and have an issue. And so, we need to communicate at all times.
Wow, that's great. Now, once the incident happened, you're in the hospital. There's some hard things that you have to come to face with. Your family and the guys that you're working with. Go through that story a little bit.
Yeah, so we get into a little bit in this presentation, but ultimately I was out there doing the job that I love doing. The work was fun. Enjoyed every bit of it because I came from an aviation background in the Marine Corps, right into working under helicopters on live line, and that's what my focus was. And I remember just loving going to work, getting the job done, and coming home. And the day of my accident, when it really hit me was when my wife showed up at the hospital with our 7-month-old, my youngest, and put her on my lap. And that oh crap moment where I could have lost all this, right? She could have lost me, her father, and it was kind of a wake-up call. And even more than that was the later on that night when my friends, my brothers on my crew walked into that hospital room and met me and saw me, right? And they didn't have to say a word. They walked into that room, it entered with them. Yeah. It was dark and heavy, and you could feel it. They were affected by what they saw that day, right? And then for me, witnessing that later on that night by myself in the hospital room with the nurse, every 2 hours they had to do a blood draw to see if my body was, breaking down. It came to me, what if me not speaking up that day would have ended one of my brothers in that bed or worse?
Wow.
And that's when I made the shift. I got to do things differently, and I got to advocate for our brothers and sisters on the line.
And once you get there, like Lito, he got there, but once you get there, you can't unsee, you can't unfeel the harsh reality of what that is like. And I know Lito, he shares that in his passion. He shares that, and he's trying to bring that energy over to you to where it doesn't happen on your cruise. Lito's contact information will be all at the end of his episode here. And man, reach out to him. I know you do a lot of consulting, Lito, as well. So give us a little bit of feel of what that's like as far as some of your services.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so ultimately I would love to get in front of your team and share my message in person, because that's like Brent said, you feel it. And beyond that, I don't like to just show up and give a message, because 2 weeks later, it's not about me, but they're not going to remember me, and they're not going to remember my message. And that's what I want people to do is be touched by what I learned from myself and make changes, for themselves, so that they can get home safely at the end of every day. But with me showing up and just speaking and walking away, they're not going to take anything. 2 weeks later, they'll be back to their normal self. And so I like to partnership with the groups that I get with. Yeah. Messaging. Toolbox talks, and then even beyond that, safety assessments, of your team.
Yeah.
I had one client hire me to do a safety assessment of their whole division,
Right.
their whole electric department, and we found some good stuff, and they're working through it right now.
Nice.
You know, I gave them a list of after I gave them the report. This is what I found, and these are my recommendations. They ate it up, and they're making the changes necessary to ensure that their team is safe.
So you share things that they need to make changes with and things they need to grow. Because Lito's going to find some good things that needs to be grown and fostered and increase those good things as well. Not just the red flags, but also those green lights as well. So listen up to Lito. He's awesome. Lito, thank you, brother.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, love you too, man.
Okay. All right. Let's get into this then. So today we're going to go through this, and if a lot of you have probably seen me before, you're going to recognize a lot of the slides in here. I'm taking my message from another direction today. Usually I cover the assumptions that I made that day. Today we're going to talk about the standards that I walk past, and you're going to identify some of the standards you might be walking past today. So we'll get into it right here. Before we start, this QR code right here takes you to a field kit, a tool that I put together. It's a 16-page document that has a bunch of tools for you to use. We're going to talk about a few of them here. And it covers the frameworks that I've put together through my experience. And when I say through my experience, it's through what I went through and what I learned. I had to help myself with tools to get through that so that it doesn't happen again. But also when I go in and a client hires me to do an incident investigation, these are things that I pulled together from all the experiences all across the country to be able to build tools that our teams can use to ensure that they get home safe at the end of the day. So you'll see this QR code throughout the presentation. So if you miss it on this first slide, don't worry, you'll be able to grab it later. So the standard you walk past, for me, we'll get into my incident a little bit here, but it's so easy to get complacent in a job that you love doing. And when you slide past something, right? Say it's I didn't wear gloves today and nothing happened, right? That's a simple one. I'll go for the easy one first, right? Nothing happened. Well, I don't have to wear my gloves tomorrow because, yesterday it was fine, right? You get away with it. The more you get away with it, you're taking those chances, and eventually it's going to catch up to you. It compiles, and I'll show you through an exercise here shortly. But what we say, the say-do gap here, what this means is what we say is completely different often than what we see in the field, okay? We support safety 100%. I believe when somebody says I support safety, they believe that, right? But if you get in the field, you might see there's a difference between what they say, what they believe, and what they do, right? And what they accept. And that's what we're going to talk about today, right? The silence, the water line is the silence. What we see in the field, tailboards read, but not held, right? They just read it. I've seen it, right? I've done it. I've been there. Instead of having a conversation with my team, we've gotten to the point where we just read through the tailboard that I copied from the day before because we're on the same project. How do we know something didn't change overnight, right? Unsure, but nobody stopped the job. Concerns raised once, then dropped. Shortcuts that worked, so they stay. Eventually, it's going to catch you. Near misses, never written up. So I want to talk about that gap, because that gap right there between say and do is what eventually becomes this. The more you pull a block out of that tower, the more unstable your safety program gets, and eventually there's no more blocks to pull. It will catch up to you. So why am I able to talk about this, right? Well, I'm blessed to talk about this, okay? Because in 2015, on this right-of-way right here, normal day, working with my crew on towers that we've been on 100 times plus, doing the same thing we do 3 to 4 times a week. bare hand work procedures on 500,000 volts. Both those circuits are energized, so you got 1,000,000 volts going down that corridor right there. First standard I walked past was communication. Right, I showed up to the job site. Helicopter was on the deck, shut down, and my team was putting our gear out on the deck, getting everything ready to go. And my first thought was, I wonder if anybody jumped in that helicopter and flew to every tower that we were going to fly that day, because we need to identify the hazards for each tower that we're going to work. Right. We also need to show the pilot where we're working. Right. It's a lot easier to sit in the cockpit with a pilot and instead of telling him off a radio, hey, yeah, take us over here, 2 more towers down, right? Then he gets a view of what he's going to be working around. We get to see if there's any additional hazards on that tower before we work. And because my team always did that, I didn't say anything. Helicopter would show up, we'd throw somebody in there, he'd fly out before he shut down. And I saw what I saw every time, right? Helicopter shut down, they must have done it. I didn't say anything. And this day, I paid for it. So we fly out there, and that first tower we flew to, unidentified hazard, vertical run of OPGW. You got on that tower, you got the 2 static lines, and sometimes there's OPGW, fiber optic ground wire. This tower had a vertical run that went to a splice box down about 50 feet below the bridge where we were standing and working. We had never worked with it in that configuration before. We'd only worked with it at, tangent, going straight run through. And so we've always grounded it with 1 ground. And so going off our knowledge, our experience, we call for 1 ground on an energized structure, right? Right there, that should have been a red flag. Hey guys, let's pull off. Let's go back to the LZ. Let's draw this out with the boss instead of telling him over a radio what we need. And let's get a good plan. Let's get the grounding manual out. How do we mitigate this hazard? And because we always use 1 ground, we call for 1 ground. Foreman was good with it. We painted the picture of what we saw out there in the field, so he would send us the ground, ensuring that we weren't going to ground the 500. And I throw the ground on one of those, thinking it was a loop. Comes down, goes to the splice box, comes back up, and then goes back out. And it was completely insulated from the tower, so it was not grounded. There was no path to ground at all on that structure. And we stopped twice. We stopped to talk about it first, called for the ground, and then when I installed the ground on 1 run, we traced it out again from 50 feet above that structure, or that splice box, and we stopped again and traced it, and, we good? We're good. Let's go. And so as I moved across, I walked past another standard. And it wasn't that day that I walked past that standard. It was probably years before that I walked past that standard. Power line construction, for years, I came up free climbing. If I could climb from the ground all the way up to my work position without having to belt off, right? And then OSHA said, hey, you know what, that's not right. That's not going to work for us. We need you to be 100% fall protected your entire climb up. Everywhere you move, you need to be protected from a fall. And so for us, that was kind of a big change, especially, as an apprentice coming up and free climbing, learning how to free climb and not having to belt off or anything. And so for me, that day, I did what I had always done. I unbelted from the steel to climb past that OPGW, right? I didn't climb past the one I grounded because we thought it was a loop. I thought I was okay to go past the one that was grounded through the loop. And as I got out there, I'm outside the steel. I'm holding on right here, 150 feet in the air. I don't have any fall protection on because I'm moving to where I'm going to go work, like I'd done thousands of times before. And when I got to that OPGW, before I went past it, I reached out and tapped it. Now I'm going to ask you to think about this. Why would I tap that? What's going on in my head? You think maybe there's some doubt in my head that we mitigated this properly? So when I reached out and tapped that and I got nothing happened to me, what do you think happened to that doubt? Gone, right? Let's go to work. We got 3 towers to do today. Two of them were planned, and we had a lightning storm come through and give us an extra tower that night. So now we have a full day's worth of work. Let's go, right? And so as I'm coming out, I'm resting. My arm's resting on an OPGW right here. That's the OPGW, the vertical run. The far one is the one that's grounded. I'm walking past the one toward us. right? And that OPGW is resting on my arm, and nothing's happening to me. So that doubt's completely gone, right? We're good to go. Let's go to work. But the second I reached up with my right hand and grabbed onto the steel to pull myself past it, my body locked up. And I can hear the electricity in my head. And I was bleeding all the induction on that OPGW through me, my suit, and down through the steel. And as quick as it came on and held me there, it went away. And then it came back again. Those cycles of bleeding it off, right? It bled that induction off, the electricity was gone. And then because there's 1,000,000 volts in that corridor, it's hot, right? It came right back, right? And so for me, here I am, 150 feet in the air. I can't just drop into my fall protection when it lets go of me. Now I have to figure out a way to get away from it when it lets go, because I couldn't let go. When it lets go of me, how am I going to get away from this, right? Fortunately for me, I was able to throw myself between one of those cycles. There's about 5 or 6 cycles that I went through of bleeding it off. I threw myself into the tower and I landed on the same level I was standing on in one of those triangles there. And my arms and my legs were doing this, and they were burning. Not like I was injured, like I had a hard day or a good day or a bad day at the gym. However you look at the gym, I was worked. And my first thought was, now I have this hazard between me and my brothers who are screaming my name, right? They're yelling for me because they could hear the electricity. And my brother Tyler, 5 feet away from me, said I was making this lurching sound he'd never heard anybody make before. So my first thought is, hey guys, stay away from that. I'm fine, stay away from that. So they get me rescued and pull me out of that tower and get me down to the LZ. In my mind, I just want to go back to work. I don't want to be the one that had the accident. I don't want to be the one that stopped the show today, right? We had a lot of money here, a lot of work going on. It took a lot, we had already 4 hours invested in the day, getting up to the job site, getting everything laid out, and going to work. We got a helicopter on site, right? A lot of work to do. I didn't want to be the one to stop that. The other thing is, I shouldn't have been the person that had the accident that day, because I was ingrained in safety. I was our team's safety lead. See, our division, the transmission department, every line crew had a safety lead, a grassroots lead. We had a grassroots team, and every month we would go to a meeting and we'd bring the issues that we were seeing to our team, and we would address those issues as a team and then come up with a way to, mitigate whatever it was that we were seeing in the field and build it for ourselves versus having, safety push it down on us. And so I shouldn't have been the one that had the accident. Nobody should have been that day. But it goes to show, you can be 100% ingrained in safety, thinking about safety all the time, and still be walking past the standard. And I learned that day about myself. When get me back to the LZ, our plan when we had a helicopter on site for emergency evacuation, anytime we had a helicopter on site, was whoever got injured was going to get thrown in that helicopter and flown to the nearest airport to a hospital so they can get picked up by an ambulance closer, right? Yet that day, for some reason, they threw me in my supervisor's truck for a 58-minute drive to the hospital versus a 16-minute flight. Our plan was always the helicopter, yet something shifted, right? And one of my frameworks I'm going to talk about in a little bit goes into this. The first step in that framework is exercise. And it's not push-ups and sit-ups and all that stuff. It's practice. We need to practice. And it's not the 20-foot hurt man rescue pole in the yard. It's the 40-foot hurt man rescue pole where the dummy's up on top of the transformer. Real rigging. Real exercises. Because we don't know how we're going to respond when we see a brother or a sister get injured. When we see them lose a limb. When we see their lifeless body hanging. We don't know how we're going to respond. And I think my brothers were affected that day by what they saw. I might have contributed to that as well, because here I am. I'm okay, guys. I'm fine. I felt okay. I was sore. Let me take a break for a second and we'll get started and go back. I didn't want to go to the hospital. So maybe me saying that made them feel like it wasn't an urgency. right? So that 58-minute drive was with my supervisor, no AED, and we don't know what's going on inside Lito, right? Not to mention the 2 no self-service areas that he would have had to deal with had I gone down on that drive with him. I would have been in his hands 100%, and he would have had no help. So I had been walking past some standards. We found out that our crew had as well. And so for me, getting to that hospital that day, like Brent and I were talking about earlier, it really hit home for me when my wife showed up and set our youngest on my lap. She's 7 months in that picture. You know, the phone call that I had to make from that hospital bed to my oldest, who was 7 years old. And she's crying on the phone, not understanding why dad's not home. No child should have to worry about that. This is my family. That little girl on the front right there, had I left that day, that little girl would not have a memory of her father. She would not know him at all. And I know what she would be going through because I lost my father when I was 2 years old. I didn't have a chance to know him for myself. Right? I had pictures and I had stories. But I'd much rather have the experiences myself and be able to enjoy the time with him. And I want that for my kids. And you should want that for your kids, for your family members, those experiences. 3 of my girls are competitive dancers. This is at one of their dance recitals. My oldest is now 18. She graduated. She's off doing her own thing now. You know, my son's 16. I'm getting ready to, get him a car and, do all of that stuff. Had I gone that day, I wouldn't be here for that. I wouldn't be here to mold my son into the man I want him to be. And I don't want somebody else doing that. So this is a serious wake-up call for me and a shift in the way, not only the way that I work, but the way that I approach life every day. Because this doesn't just work here on the lines out here in the field, whatever you're doing for your job. This is everyday life. This guy here. You think he's walked past the standard in the past? That's not the first time he's done that. What do you see? No fall protection, right? No PPE, no traffic control. That's a busy intersection right there. Oh, I'll tell you something. The funny thing about this picture is I didn't take it. My wife did. So in my shift someplace, she picked up the safety bug as well. She sees these things too. We were off driving, doing some shopping, and she's like, look at that guy. And I'm like, yeah, look at him. He's not really following a procedure, right? Following the rules. He definitely walked past the standard at some point in time, and he's not planned and ready for what if, right? But what if? The crazy part is, right, literally, I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason. Literally 2 weeks after this picture was taken, this popped up on social media. And I know you guys probably, a lot of people have seen this. I share this in my presentation, and a lot of people go, oh yeah, this one, right? This guy, there's a difference between the team here, right? Or at least maybe half of the team. The guy up in the air, he's ready for combat. He's ready for what if, right? He went to work and he did what he's supposed to do. He ensured his safety just in case something like this happened. Now, had he been walking past the same standard the other guy was, he probably would not be here today. And if he did survive this, more than likely, he's not doing that job anymore. And he's probably not walking. Right? So, full life change. Life-changing event. Might not even be able to hold his kids if he had them, right? Because he's coming down head first from 18 plus feet. This is why we follow standards all the time. Mr. Brent, can I borrow you for a second, brother? We're going to go through an exercise here. I love Jenga because I'm able to use the Jenga tower for so many things, and it works really well for this. Mr. Brent,
Yes, sir.
when you get settled back here, I want you to take this Jenga tower here, right? You play Jenga, I have to ask that.
I have.
Okay, because I've done this presentation. I've done the Jenga experiment at many presentations, and there's been a handful of them where the person that I picked from the audience to help me out with this, sometimes it was 2 guys, didn't know the concept of Jenga. So you guys need to get out of the truck when you get home and start playing outdoor games with your kids or with your friends or whatever. Make this tower
Yes, sir.
taller.
Taller?
Okay?
All right.
The Jenga way, you
Yeah.
can use 2 hands, bud.
Okay.
You can use 2 hands to steady the tower, whatever you need to do. While he's doing that, I want you to think about each block that he removes from that tower as a standard being walked past, okay? And as he's doing that, I'm gonna name off some standards. We trained them. They know. Did we? Training is a starting line, not a finish line. The procedure covers it. On paper, yes. Now go watch what actually happens at 2:30 in the afternoon. I walked the site last week. Last week is not today. What changed in the last 6 hours that you do not know about? No incidents means we're safe. This is the most dangerous sentence in leadership. The absence of an incident is not the presence of a culture. It just means the system has not failed yet. I said it once, that's enough. Was it heard? Was it understood? Once is not communication, once is a memo. If they're not pushing back, we're aligned. Or are they done arguing with you? What does silence sound like in your meetings? Agreement or surrender? If something was wrong, they'd tell me. Would they? When was the last time someone on your crew told you something you did not want to hear? If you can't remember, you have your answer.
I'm doing pretty good, Lito.
You're doing good, man. It hasn't gone over. I've only had 1 tower go. All right, brother.
But I feel like we're kind of,
This is the one.
yeah, I feel like we're getting kind of shaky here, man.
Yeah.
It's that gut feeling, Lito.
You feel it.
I feel like it's the gut feeling, man.
Yeah. I'm going to help you out. I saw one hanging there. I had to take it.
No, it's all right.
You got to walk past that,
Got to
right?
take one for the team.
All right. I think we're good, Brent. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
good before you destroy this tower.
All right.
All right. You can.
Good?
Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, man.
All right. Take a look at that tower. Every block that he removed was a standard somebody walked past. Okay? Now, this tower represents everything that you've put in place to ensure that you and your team get home safely at the end of the day. Your work procedures, your best practices, your safety manual, your safety culture, everything that you have worked so hard to put together has slowly been taken apart. Not intentionally, slowly over time because we've gotten away with it. And it's unfortunate that maybe that first block at some point in time was the block that had the tower fall. And somebody's not with us anymore. You see, it could be the first block, or you can go 40 years of pulling blocks and not have an issue, and then you do. I responded to an incident. It was just a work procedure error. Nobody got hurt. I'm grateful for that. But when I arrived, very seasoned journeyman lineman sitting at the tailgate, just dumbfounded. He was upset with himself. He'd been doing this for 40 years, is what he told me. I've been doing this for 40 years and never made a mistake like that. Now, think about what I just said. Did he never make a mistake like that? Or did he get away with it for a long time and it finally caught up to him? So I want to propose a tool for you guys. I call them the blue blocks, okay? I love Jenga. The wood is so easy to paint, but rather than walking past a standard, stopping yourself, right? For me, it would have been, there you go, all right. Helicopter's shut down, my team's putting the stuff out. I wonder if anybody's flown to that towers today to ensure that all it would have been super easy for me to do was say, hey guys, at the tailboard, anybody jump in that helicopter and go look at those towers? Bam, right? No, man, nobody, right? Let's fire that ship up and go, right? 15-minute flight, out, back. Hey guys, we got a vertical run of OPGW. I never worked with that before. It's always going through past the tower. Check, let's pull out the grounding manual. That's a good call, let's pull it out, right? For us that day, right? Had we pulled out that grounding manual, right? We would have opened it up to grounding OPGW. And in that manual, that grounding manual is like that thick. It's a big manual. There's a lot of variables on that system. But in that grounding manual, at that time, grounding OPGW was on one page and it was a paragraph that big. Now, I have a question for you. How much emphasis in grounding training do you think that they placed on that small paragraph? Probably none, right? Hey guys, OPGW, let's make sure it's grounded before you touch it. That's more than likely because I don't recall ever learning about grounding it. I just knew it had induction, we needed to ground it. That's what I knew. But had we pulled that manual out that day, right? Pull that manual out, all right, and read that paragraph. It states specifically, I've got it memorized. Any vertical run of OPGW, both runs shall be grounded. Now, there with my team, my foreman on board, I grab a ground set, put on my harness. My brother grabs a ground set, puts on his harness, and we fly up and we ground that OPGW on both ends, out of our way, hazard mitigated, and I wouldn't be here talking in a good way, right? But I got to be honest, guys. I'm almost grateful that this happened to me because I did not know the state that I was in, right? I thought I was working safe. I thought I was actually not only following the standard, but an example of the standard, right? To my brothers. I was going to the meetings. I was bringing stuff back to them, right? I was contributing in those meetings. It wasn't just to get off and go have a good lunch and get away from work for a little bit. We actually did work. Not knowing that I had a bunch of stuff that I was dealing with on my own. Right? So as we challenge those assumptions, right? And I'm going to give you a tool here in a second to help you, one, identify those standards you might be walking past, and two, how to challenge them, right? I'm not afraid of these blocks. I used to be when I was a kid, right? You're like, oh no, it's going to fall. Play this game enough now that my kids won't play with me because I win. So we'll continue on here. If you haven't downloaded the toolkit, it's there. This is one part of it, that blue block that I talked about. And we're going to walk through it here really quick. Blue block worksheet, right? The standard you walk past is the standard you set. you take this tool, right, and you ask yourself, take a second, and this is something that I want you to do today when we're done here, right? This worksheet is for you to use today to identify what standards you might be walking past. First thing you do, what standard am I walking past? Not the organization standard, the specific thing you are choosing not to address right now. Am I requiring my team to work undermanned? Am I putting too much work on them? Am I following fall protection rules at all time? Take some time and think about it. This is not, like, you're not reporting this to anybody. This is for you yourself. Take the time to do this. Number 2, why am I accepting it? Not why it exists in the culture. Why are you okay with it? And what is that costing you? All right, for me, I'm belting. I can get from A to B a lot quicker. The day goes by a lot faster, and I can get home to my family, right? I can get home to my family a lot quicker, right? But there's an actual chance that I might not make it home to my family. Number 3, what is the cost of walking past it? If you never set the standard, what happens? Who gets hurt? What breaks? Be specific with yourself. And then I want you to think about what block you're going to put in place to ensure that that standard's not walked past anymore. Reset that standard, right? The standard you identify today, I want you to reset it today and name the blue block that you're putting in place. What are you going to do from now on? And lock it in. The second sheet. My one standard. If everything you named, circle 1, right? If you pulled out a bunch of standards, circle the one you're gonna work on, right? Name that block, right? And in 24 hours, share it with somebody. Be accountable to somebody. Maybe your teammate, maybe your partner at home, whoever it may be. Make yourself accountable to follow that standard every day. Utilize this tool to help you identify those standards. The next one, I put together this framework called Escape. And it's to help you put together an emergency action plan that's going to work for the site you're working on today, right? Here in this field next to Bierer Meters, right? Call 911 is probably going to work for us. Call 911 and get EMS here, right? The street's right there. They can pull right into the parking lot, come right to us, right? But if I'm working in the mountains and I hiked to my job site up a rope with my tools on my back, is that going to work for us? No. We need to let whoever's coming know how we got here, what they're going to need, right? If they can't get a helicopter, we need to tell them a helicopter's not going to work, right? Maybe you're in the trees. The trees are too tall to get a hoist in, all right? They need to know that. This tool is going to help you create a plan for the job site you're working on today. It's too many times have I gone to a crew out in the field, and this just isn't back home. This is all over the country. I've gone to see crews and clients. The emergency action plan was the same thing for the work they did yesterday or weeks ago, and it's a completely different site, right? It's not. The chances of it not working are pretty good, right? So we need to identify, just like we're identifying the hazards of the job we're doing that day, right? All the hazards that we're gonna come into, right, and mitigate those hazards. We need to do the same thing for our emergency action plan, because the whole idea, the whole point of an emergency action plan is to give whoever got hurt the best possible chance of survival. And if we're not doing that here, right? If we're not doing that and something happens, we're not ready, right? And like I said, that first one is exercise, right? Have we practiced this? Or have we only written it? And I joke about it, right? I joke about the 20-foot pole out there with no arm on it. Right? I see a lot of places doing that. That's not going to cut it, right? Yeah, sure. Mechanics of working a hand line and getting somebody down, practice that all you want, right? But we need to throw stuff in scenarios that guys aren't going to be ready for, right? We're working above energize something, right? We rubber it up and we climb past it. Now we got a hazard between us trying to get past it, right? Working off a work platform, a diving board, insulated work platform, right? And somebody goes down and they're hanging off the end of that. Now we got to get out there. And we got to rig off of him out there. If we don't have a helicopter, it's a little more challenging, right? If we got a helicopter on site, it's easy, right? Just get out there and hook the guy up to the helicopter and run him out. But not every time is going to have that opportunity, right? We get into site conditions, right? What can hinder our rescue? What can get in the way, right? Well, I know that working up in this canyon every day, the winds kick up about 2 p.m. 2 p.m., we can't get a helicopter in this canyon to help us, right? So if we're going beyond 2 p.m., our plan changes. Identify that, right? Did we hike in? Did we pass any, like a rattlesnake? There's hazards for us. There's hazards for our rescuers coming in. We need to identify those and communicate it. Communication. How are we going to communicate with the people? Right? 911, okay, well, I don't have cell service out here. What are we going to do now? Right? Okay, we got a GPS communicator, right? The Garmin's. If you don't have that, I mean, a lot of people have Starlink now. Starlink works great, right? For us, we ended up going, California Highway Patrol has a helicopter in every region. We got their direct phone number. So now we call 911 and then we call their direct phone number to their hangar and they get in the air and come and they're on site to help us if we need them, and if not, they got to fly. That's what they say. They call 911 and then call us. And if we show up and you guys don't need us, we got to fly, right? And our tax dollars are going to that anyway, right? So I'd rather have the tool there to use. When I actually, with my guys, I actually pull CHPN once a year and do a rescue. So they'll come in and they'll drop down with the paramedic and he'll bag somebody up and fly him out so the guys can see what it's going to look like. Right? Access. How did we get to the job? We want to outline that so that they know how they're going to have to respond to the person. And then position. Where are we? Right? GPS coordinates. Street location. Right out here. That's getting written on there. Right? And then egress. How are we getting out? Because sometimes the way we got in isn't the best way to get somebody on a backboard out. So you got to outline that stuff. The form, dispatch form right here, that's utilized. And what you do, you go through and you write down everything that needs to be read over the computer or over the phone. But however you're communicating it, write it down. Because, like I said, we don't know how we're going to respond when we see somebody get hurt on the job, right? Helicopter on site, it's already running, and they threw me in a truck, right? The plan, something happened, something shifted, right? Whereas this, now I got it all filled out. It's on the hood of the truck down at the base of the pole. AED's there, first aid kit's there, everything, communicators right there. Everything that we need is right in one spot. Now, whoever's closest can grab that card, make the call, and read. No second thinking, you just read the card. And if it's written, it's going to happen. Don't rely on memory. Don't rely on, I can handle it. I've seen bad stuff before, because you don't know how you're going to respond. And we need to make sure this is the important thing, right? Yeah, getting the job done, right? Making money, right? Buying toys. Those are all great things, right? But getting everybody home at the end of the day safely is way more important. And if something happens, giving whoever got hurt the best possible chance of survival is number one. Utilize these tools. Inside that toolkit that I put together, it's 16 pages. It goes deeper into this. It goes into another framework I put together, AAA, Ask, Adapt, Act, right? And that's how we stop and identify. During our tailboard, it'd be simple. Sitting here, my foreman, he's been great. Working with him for 5 years, and he's just, I never have to ask any questions. He's always spot on with everything, right? And so it's like, yeah, you guys got any questions? And nobody's talking, right? How do I know that everybody's on point today? How do I know that Jeff wasn't up all night with his youngest, right? And he's not here today. He's tired, right? We gauge him, right? Now for me, every one of my crews that I run, I stop and I say, okay, hey, tailboard's done. I've given you guys what we're doing. Here's the hazards, right? We've covered it all, emergency action plan. Instead of me saying, any questions, right? That's offering an opportunity to speak up. I give them the responsibility to speak up, right? Jeff, hey, bud, it's your turn, man. What are you doing today? I already told you, so what are you doing? All right, okay. Yep, you're on, right? Jeff repeated what I said he was going to do. Now I know Jeff was listening during the tailboard, right? How long does that take? A minute? Less, right? All right, hey, Jeff, take a look at that. Look at the job site. What'd I miss? What didn't I cover? Is there anything here that's bothering you, right? I'm giving Jeff an opportunity to speak up about anything that might be concerning him about this job site, all right? And is there anything that we're assuming today? Right? A crew of 4, maybe 5 guys, right, with the foreman. How long does that take to run through that? Not long, right? I think 5 minutes is worth somebody's life, right? Ensuring that everybody goes home and no issues. That's what Ask, Adapt, Act is, and it's in there. It's outlined in detail for you guys. The QR code's in the corner, and that'll get you guys a lot of tools that I've been working. Like 2015 is when it happened. I've been working on this since then, and I finally got a good package together, and that's why I wanted to present it today for 100, so that you guys have it. That QR code will take you there, and there's a bunch of other stuff that you guys are able to get through there. For me, guys, I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share this with you. This QR code, if you have any questions, scan this QR code. Or if you want to even offer up any input into what I've said today, this will take you to a form. You guys can fill it out and just shoot it over to me, and I'll answer it as quick as I can. Other than that, I really appreciate the opportunity to share this with you. I love ECOS. The only thing I have to say is I'm still, like I said, going all over the country talking about ECOS, and people haven't heard of it yet. So along with sitting back and taking some time to identify standards you might be walking past today, I want you to go into your contacts, shuffle through your line team contacts, and pick 2 people to message and say, hey, dude, you guys got to check out ECOS. Check it out. It's free. You guys, there's countless hours of content for you guys to train on and share it so that we can share it with the trade and build this trade up. So that we don't continue to lose people. Last QR code, grab the tools. Thanks for your time.